And welcome to L.T.A.M. Reactions again. I hope everybody's doing good out there, and welcome home. You know, every day I wake up and I kind of see what's going on. And this video actually came out a couple of days ago, which is just one of the most amazing pieces of content I've seen to date. You're going to want to watch the entire thing because it just shows a lot about what's going on today in the world of equality, in the world of free speech, in the world of reality. So we are extremely excited to be able to bring this to you. I really can't express it, if I'm being honest. It's just like next level stuff. So the conversation is finally hitting some mainstream strides here. I'm sure you've heard of a little channel called Vice. One of my favorite shows on there is on their sister company called Viceland. Love it. They hit a lot of topics. They are a worldwide journalist company. They go out and they do this. And they are bringing to light some of the conversations that we have been having here. And this is a very exciting time. This is a very exciting time to be part of this movement and these ideas and this resistance to what we all know just has to change. So first off, once again, subscribe, like, share, comment. Go to the website, ltamnow.com. Sign up. We've been getting a lot of donations on there, by the way. We're really proud and thankful. So thank you. You guys are the best. So, like we promised, we're going to continue to push the message and allow the conversation to begin through facts, statistics, and data. We're going to leave our feels out of this one. So, once again, as you can see in the middle of the screen, Just Pearly Things was invited onto Vice to discuss feminism. What I think you're going to see in this episode here is going to be extremely eye-opening. But I don't want to sway you in any way. I want you to watch this video. I may interject once in a while, but I'm going to let it play out. I want you to just notice a few things. And whatever you notice, I want you to comment below. Because you want to know what? There's a lot of guys, girls, kids, families out there that think, you know, they're kind of losing their mind because this stuff that you're about to see happens every single day, but they're told it's not happening. They're like, nah, you didn't hear that right. That's not correct. You didn't see that kind of behavior. No, no. Well, let's be independent thinkers and let's think for ourselves. So without further ado, are you ready to rumble?
How is it sexism when we have no barriers today? So we can pick what we want to pick.
Who doesn't have barriers?
Women don't have barriers?
Women, yeah. What's
We have
stopping
no
you? You can do whatever you want.
I can or you can?
What's stopping you?
Should we mark this bad boy at all?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, here we go.
Hi, welcome everybody. I'm Liz Landers. I'm Vice News' chief political correspondent, and we are here today to talk about some of the biggest issues dividing women across the country.
Hey, Liz.
In other words, we're here to talk about feminism. First, I just want to say we know we can't represent everybody's views, but we did try our best to bring together a diverse group of women today. In today's polarized world, is feminism dead? I saw your hand.
I think that depends on the definition of feminism. I strongly think that feminism is more of an action than an identity. I would say it's uplifting all women, in which case it's very alive. At the same time, if we do follow...
By the way, full disclosure, that's a dude.
That definition, feminism has splintered off into so many different areas that you can look at people like Sheryl Sandberg who say you should just get another nanny if you feel oppressed. And if we're talking about that kind of feminism, yeah, it's pretty dead.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the human race exists, feminism will never be dead. There's something that we're going to have to strive and work towards to make sure that there's equality. So feminism is not dead.
I don't know that it can die. As long as there's power and oppression, there will be people fighting for equity. And until that somehow goes away, feminism is alive and well.
I think feminism isn't actually about equality. It's about equality when it benefits us. I think feminism is really about women wanting special privileges and treatment at the expense of men often. And I think it's alive and well, sadly.
I think feminism is also alive and well. There are different kinds of feminism, right? Like, that is obvious. And for me, as a womanist, as a Black feminist, right, as someone who's really thinking about human rights, dignity, right, equity, right, as long as that need isn't met, we're still gonna keep fighting.
I'd say it's alive and well. I'd say that it's also very nuanced, and I think what it looks like is going to differ depending on where you are in the world. For me, I just see it as a lens, which isn't necessarily antagonistic or protagonistic. It's just a useful tool.
Similar to what Pearl just said, I find that a lot of feminist ideology and thought today feels more of like a supremacist movement rather than something that is supposed to be advancing the goals of equality. I don't think that we can really term what's going on as feminism because it looks so different to, I think, the earlier feminist movements. So in that way, I would say it's taken its last breaths of life. It's dying.
Yeah, I definitely think it's getting more and more radicalized, for sure. So it's definitely still alive.
I think I'll preface and say that I don't know so much about modern Western feminism, and there might be a lot of terms that I don't know, like political jargon and stuff. But I believe in the advancement of women, whoever considers themselves a woman. I think there's a deficiency in society. So it's deeply rooted that feminine...
Whoever considers themselves a woman.
Feminism has always existed. I think America's a little obsessed with themselves, and it's like always feminism is rooted in America. And like, oh, white women started it, and it's kind of offensive because for thousands of years, women have been dying for their rights.
I think as a Black woman specifically, when you talk about feminism, yeah, the mainstream first thing you think about is a certain type of feminism that tends to exclude still, even today, even with intersectional feminism, exclude African-American women, and it's always kind of done that. And also like, upper middle class white women has predominantly been the face of what we quote unquote consider feminism.
I think feminism is attempting to say, okay, the first thing we agree on is that there are barriers and friction to what I need and what I want based on the fact that I'm a woman. What it ignores is that, and what privilege is that you may not have to think that being a woman and being a Black woman and being a Black woman who has a disability, for example, impacts you further. You have more barriers, you have more friction, you are less able to get what you want. You're undervalued in a way that's like, okay, well, you know, that's life. That's what I mean by equity, and that we're able to, without friction, all get the same needs met.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. See, I disagree with that. I think life is easier if you're a girl. Actually,
yeah,
I think there's a lot of benefits that men don't have. I'm not going to speak anything to race. I'm just talking about gender specifically. It's usually like an excuse. Like, honestly, I think as a girl, you have equal opportunity in the world. I think there's benefits. Like, for example, we have quotas for women in specific jobs that are given to us that aren't given to men. So yeah, I would say it's easier being a girl.
Just from a viewpoint over here, though, it seems there's a lot of pretty privilege in what you're saying, and that you're white and you present.
Do you think I'm pretty? Thank you.
I think that you present in a way that beauty standards have accepted.
And
so
they call me ugly on the internet all the time. They be roasting me daily.
They do. They roast her daily. And just pearly things, I'm here to tell you you're beautiful. Not in the simpy way where it's like, oh, I want something from it. I'm just saying, like, you're a beautiful lady. So let's continue on. All right.
Haley, I swear to God.
I don't mean to say I think you're gorge. I just mean that there a certain value that we give to certain bodies.
I mean, let's also dig into why these quotas exist and why these, what you're calling
because we
privileges
want
exist.
special treatment.
No, but it's because there have historically and presently in most jobs been fewer women, and because of sexism.
How is it sexism when we have no barriers today? So we can pick
has
what
no
we want to
barriers?
pick.
Who
doesn't have barriers?
Women don't have barriers?
Women, yeah. What's
We have
stopping
no
you? You can do
barriers.
whatever you want. What's
I
stopping
can
you?
or you can?
What's stopping you? As a woman.
As a woman. See, that ignores a lot that I'm a woman with a disability. So there's a lot stopping me that you don't have to think about.
Well, as I
you don't
said
have to
before, I'm
think about.
speaking about.
I call that moving the goalpost. Let's stick on subjects. Let's stick on the subject. That's it. Right? Don't move the goalpost. Come on.
Women. I'm not.
You're speaking
I'm not,
you're speaking for yourself.
You're speaking as
an able-bodied
able-bodied
woman.
woman.
I
that is
understand.
white.
Represents white.
Of course, there's going to be other barriers if you're disabled. I'm sure. Like I'm talking about as a woman.
So you're
I
just
would
going to
agree.
ignore
White
the
women
pay
have it
gap.
easier. Yes, I would agree.
What?
You're just going to ignore the pay gap, regulation over bodies.
Pay gap has been disproven and debunked
pay gap doesn't
endlessly,
exist.
my friend.
It doesn't.
That's so funny.
It's the industries that women pick.
Let's talk about it.
There's a pay gap, but it's because women don't want to do the hardest industries.
I don't think it's that simple. I think that's an oversimplification. I think the fact of the matter is that women structure their lives differently to men. Men don't give birth. Men don't have to carry pregnancies. Men don't have to be the primary caregiver most of the time. Women also don't hold jobs for as long as men do. They often will stop and start. They'll go back into work. They'll take time off. They'll take part-time jobs. The way that men work and women work are astronomically different. And to try to say that they're comparable is where this issue comes from. They're not comparable.
Two things. First of all, let's dig into why they think that they should take these jobs, which is societal sexism. And then also, Department of Labor, all statistics, at least speaking in the US, have found that when compared for the same jobs, there still is a pay gap, particularly when it pertains to race.
Because 60% of women have never asked for a raise. So how can you complain about your pay if you don't ask for it?
Why are they not?
What happens when women ask for raises?
Sorry, I've been wanting to say something, but I want to be respectful. I don't want to interrupt people, and I want to let them finish their thoughts.
I just want to remind everybody, this is a panel with women, all respectable women except for one, which is actually a dude. And I mean, they can't even agree. I mean, these are women's perspectives coming towards women, and I just don't get it. Like, I don't know. Like, what do you think about that? Like I said, I'm not trying to. Exactly. Let's get back to it. Enjoy. This is a conversation.
Jump in, just
But you know,
go
it's
through the
just
wall.
it is a very privileged label, right, to be able to say that you're feminist, right? And I say that because I come from a working class background of Dominican immigrant parents. My mother would not necessarily identify as a feminist. I look to my mother, and I do think of her as a feminist. A lot of my ideas and my empowerment comes from seeing her like survive and put food on the table. When I'm thinking about
You know, it's funny. I was talking to somebody in their 60s, and it was a lady, and it was interesting that she was able to clearly see that, one, this has been a generational thing, right? We're kind of at the pinnacle of it right now. We're getting the results of years of, pushing against men in general, but not just pushing against men, it's taking control of the family in its entirety from like a matriarchal standpoint. And she was telling me that she believed it was wrong, and she does believe in women and that they have a very important role, but you don't have to own it all. You don't have to take it all. And we know that with all these divorce rates and all these other situations that are going on, it's not even an attack on men anymore. It's even more like sinister than that. It's more of an attack on families and children. It makes it so that we're not focused on the true nature of who we are and why we're here. We're more focused on what we want and how we're going to get it and how we're going to win the game. I mean, I don't know what side of the fence you want to be on, but I definitely don't want to be on that side of the fence. So let's keep going.
Feminism, I'm always thinking about who's not part of the conversation. What are the barriers? How do we think about equity? How do we think about self-empowerment and agency and having a voice, right, and having choice, and thinking about our basic human rights, education, access to health, homes, like having bread, having food, and those things are very important, right? And they're at the crux, right, of what a lot of us here know that we need. It's like there are the barriers, right, that we constantly ignore that are very much systemic and microaggressive, right? We see them and experience them every day.
Like what in the U.S.?
So,
like what?
What would you like to know an example of?
I know you said that there's like barriers. I want to know what barriers in the U.S. today as a woman.
Well, as a woman or as a woman of color? Let's be specific.
As a woman. I said as a woman.
Well, no, I can't answer as a woman.
I
I'm just
feel
not
like
a
your
woman.
question.
There we go. That was another goalpost move. Did you see that? So we had the first goalpost move, right? Disabilities, now woman of color. We're talking about women. That encompasses all women, right? I mean, let's think about that, everyone. We're not even taking a time to think about men as individuals or even a group. So can you like chill out with asking us to make all these exceptions to line up with your goalpost? The topic is feminism and women, not anything else. All right, stop going off topic. You can see how this can be very confusing to us. It seems confusing to you all too, right? We need a leader in the group there that can focus everybody to continue the conversation, right? All right, let's go.
Is kind of hostile when you're like, there are no barriers to what I want. Congratulations. That means you have a privilege where you're not facing any friction, and that's showing, and I feel like it's
I think
like
as an American, you're very privileged. Like,
I mean,
I'm not ignoring that.
We're like a basic level of what, I mean, the feminist movement is when it comes to just being born a woman, right? Physically, pound for pound, we are born as women and we have less lean muscle mass than men. So there are issues of violence and assault and stuff like that. And so therefore, there are policies, there are things to help women physically, like, for example, I believe being able to carry a firearm and being able to use that safely to defend yourself against men who are born naturally with more muscle mass than a woman.
I don't know how you guys took that, right? But I can understand. That's true. We're bigger. We're stronger. But something in the tone, something in the way it's delivered is like, men are threatening and dangerous. We need to protect ourselves. But if you look up domestic abuse rates, remember, put through your Google, son. Get through your Google, please. Remember, you have to be accountable for this shit. We can't do this for you, okay? You can't keep not educating yourself and then keep talking. Like, if you're not educated about it, just shut up, all right? Or ask a friend, or go to Googlies, get your Googlies on, right? But don't come in here on your feelings. We need facts, statistics, right? Data. So if you look at the abuse, domestic abuse rates, I mean, women are pretty gnarly. If you look at child abuse rates, women lead that. Don't take my word for it. Go to the oogly googlies today. All right.
I keep hearing the term equity. What would a world that has equity look like? Like, would it be 50% of everyone in the same jobs? Would it be like prison, 50%?
That's equality.
50%. So what does equety look like?
So equity is generally described as a state of fairness, because historically a lot of people have been arguing for equality, but what does that give us? Like 0.5 of the 1% being woman. This doesn't really do anything for us. And so people have talked about equity instead, which is instead of sameness, it's fairness. And this would mean that we remove systemic barriers to engage in society, not just for women, but also for everyone.
So which barriers?
Those barriers that you don't believe in.
I don't. Go ahead.
I want you to notice as well with Pearl, she's so logical, and like I can communicate with Pearl easily. I can tell because she asks a question. If someone asks her a question, she answers it. But if you notice, every time she asks a question or there's a question that's opposing their view, they are going to shame, blame, insult, have the need to be right, and they are going to stay steadfast on that at no cost. I want you to think about that. If you're in a serious situation in life and you got to make serious decisions, do you want the decision making being that biased that you're unwilling to open up your mind to gather new information? Especially when, look, it's all women. It's all the ladies. I mean, this is fantastic. I'm so happy that we're having this conversation right now because look, it's the ladies talking, and you gotta respect that. You can't ignore that either. You can deny it. You could be delusional. That's up to you. I'm sorry. But look at this. It's amazing. All right.
To have a bunch of ramps in your life. It doesn't do shit. I need those ramps, right?
Can we stick to male versus female? That's my question. So I'm thinking male versus female.
But my feminism includes ability, it includes
my
race.
Question is,
you
for
guys
women.
can talk.
Women versus men. Like what barriers do we need removed? Because that's my statement. I'm not stating anything else. I'm stating women versus men.
It's very silly.
Like so what barrier?
Why is
I
it
just
silly?
want
The question
is
is a fair
silly.
question.
So,
Yes.
yeah, but
It's not a fair question. It's
how is it not a fair question?
Kind of proving the point of what people, especially black women, other people anybody who's not white, why we hear feminism and we don't want that label because it means.
Wow. Now they are boxing her in for being white. Listen, I am not white, but I don't think the majority of us in the United States are. I think we all have a mix of something. We are a melting pot of amazingness that has come together, that has created many different shades of awesome. When we're talking men and women, color, race has nothing to do with that part when we're talking in generalities. And it's very important to be able to distinguish between being able to talk on your feelings. And I just have a hunch. I just feel it. I know this one person that this happened to, so I know it's possible. Right? That's one thing. And then the other thing is to have data and facts and an actual legitimate conversation so that you can have a general view of the environment so you can make the best decisions possible. Do you notice how one view is an egocentric, self-centered, narcissistic view versus the other view is an inclusional, understanding, trying to create harmony and hope view? I mean, you tell me, comment below. You can call me whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. Right, wrong, I don't care. But this is the truth.
I'm just gonna say it means that. It means that you've already gotten to a pinnacle of whatever you think your happiness needs or whatever your survivalist needs are, when there are people on lower end who are trying to survive, who are trying to get to a point of what should be normal, based on what other people have.
It sort of sounds like you're saying feminism is not always inclusive then.
Right. It's most of the time it's not inclusive. It's more times than not, it's not. So, and within the just feminism space, again, there obviously the very basic is male versus female versus, but unfortunately, we've only had one subset of women be the face and voice and the academics and research and everything to be able to say, well, that's the standard we need to be in, when there are other people who are still trying to get to some type of normalcy and just living.
What is the biggest issue then that feminism faces?
I think it's the mindset. women taking like the agency, women taking initiative. I think it's mindset holding them back a lot, because if you want to be in a competitive world and compete, you have to have the right mindset. And I think a lot of people blame their lack of confidence or what society tells them for the reason that they're not achieving what they need to achieve, when that's not the case. You have to have the mindset of achieving, because the men who built the world had the mindset of building it. So the women who want to engage and build that further, they need to have that same mindset.
I don't think we do. I think that's like assuming that we all want to be capitalist babies.
Right.
I think that men are not well adjusted in the society, and women are not trying to re-embody what they have built for us. I think that like what we're forgetting is a very important detail, which is just like human respect and dignity. And not asking people to prove what their experience is and to prove to you. Like, it is like such conservative thinking to say like, I don't understand, explain it to me, versus just saying, I don't understand and let me respect what you are saying.
I'm respecting wherever your starting point. I'm respecting that. I'm really respecting that. I'm saying that if you don't have the mindset you can even achieve it, you're never gonna even try. So it's
But
never—
achieve what? Like, what are we talking about?
Achieve
Because I
a
feel like you
fair
projected
world.
this like
No,
capitalist
achieve—
ideology on every woman.
Achieve whatever it is you're looking for, equality, equity. But what I'm saying is women in the feminist space and a lot of these other spaces, we don't acknowledge that we have to take the initiative. We have to take the action. We have to have the mindset. We have to demand those things.
I don't understand how we're getting so off topic. This is about feminism today, whereas everybody wants to make this about their individual, here are all the multitude of other things that factor into my person. Great, this is about feminism, it's about womanhood. I understand that all of you have your own individual experiences and the other things that feed into you as a person, that's perfectly fine. But this is where intersectionality falls off the planet and loses, I would argue, probably the vast majority of people, including me. I'm not even a feminist. I don't give a crap about feminists arguing amongst themselves about who's the most victimized, but this is annoying to listen to. I honestly I don't understand anything anybody's even...
Amen. I mean, exclamation point right there. I want y'all to comment below. Ladies, if you're in the chat, if you're in the comments, whatever, just... Can you talk about that for me? Can you like clarify that for me? Why is it so annoying? And if you're not seeing it as annoying either, like, can you clarify why it has to go down these routes? Like, in order to go from point A to point B in a conversation, it seems like you have to go from A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z, then do a U-turn, then go zigzag through that to get to B. And when you get to B, you're like, I didn't even want to talk about B anyway. Now listen, this isn't everyone. Look, Pearl, she's right there. She exists. The lady that's talking right now, she exists. There's other ladies I could share. When you go to our Instagram, we share a lot of other ladies that have this view that has been ingrained in us since the beginning of time. These are biological and innate traits that we as humans have. We understand them. Okay? That's why it's important to seek to understand before being understood. It is crazy. It is confusing. Come on, girls. Let's get it together here. Come on, get it together. Get it together.
Trying to get at.
Look, I just want to say that I don't think equity and this concept of competition can't coexist with each other. Equity is building more facilities for people who need them. It is recognizing that there are holes in the market and there's opportunities for women and feminine expansive people and meeting those opportunities. I think equity can buoy the pre-existing system that we live.
Yo, these terms too, they're nuts. They're nuts. There's this chick that I do business with, and she's like the acronym queen. It reminds me of her. Like, how many terms? Seriously, how many terms? What was that? Feminist? I have no idea what they said. That's how confused I am on some of the terms. Some of these terms are insane. Like, we have so many darn terms. You know, I want you to put on your Googlies. Googly, googly, oogly, googly. Because I actually Googled this the other day, and I almost crapped my pants. I had to go buy adult diapers, Vaseline, it was, I had to get a hazmat suit. But yeah, so when I Googled this, it's a definition, right? We need to learn our definitions. All this crazy shit that they're saying right now, these crazy terms. This is an actual term that you can look up right now. Oogly googlies. Googlicious. I'm Googlicious. So the term is chauvinist female or chauvinist woman. Remember, being accountable, you need to do it yourself. You can't just wait for somebody lazy to put it up on the screen for you, although our new videos will include these for you. But we're trying to, promote like self-accountability. So get on there, chauvinist female, chauvinist woman. I want you to come back and I want you to either paste it into the comments or tell me if this describes anything that you know. Okay? Well, let's continue the conversation. Just look at her face, though. She looks so mad. She looks like she's like a lion looking at a gazelle. She's like, eat your soul.
Live in a good way.
And this is where we're going to get to what I think the real feminist arguments are based off of policy. And abortion is the biggest one.
How many of you would identify as pro-choice? Let's do a show of hands for pro-choice.
I feel like pro-choice is pro-life, though.
Yeah.
Okay, and folks who identify as pro-life, why do you identify as each?
You've gone from legal, safe, rare to, yeah, I'm so proud, let me beatbox in front of a Planned Parenthood, yeah, I got murder on my mind. The fact that it's celebrated that murdering children, especially in...
She said, let's go beatbox in front of... I didn't catch that before. Man, we should have a beatbox off here. I can beatbox pretty good, you know what I'm saying? Test me. I'll tell you what. Any you beatboxers out there, you want to come test me? Hit me in the comments. We'll do it. Yeah. Let's go.
In late-term pregnancies is celebrated, that people are so proud of themselves from mutilating a fetus is just, it blows my mind. And I don't think that you need to be pro-life to even take that stance.
And you said late-term pregnancy.
Yes.
A lot of abortions do not happen.
I made the distinction
Right.
specifically because lots of people still celebrate. There are people who, when the laws were passed actually here in New York, they said, yes, great, yes, I love the fact
but
that...
you need to ask about what are people celebrating, right? They're celebrating access. We're not celebrating killing kids. Like, that's not what it is.
Well, so this is what I'm saying.
So, like, here's the thing. When we're talking about access to reproductive health and to abortion rights, right, and to being pro-choice, listen, that's your body, you do you.
The child is not your body.
As I go.
A baby.
It's so scary for me to hear people calling like guns the biggest equalizer for women, but taking their choices away from them at a policy level.
Why is that?
Having a gun is an equalizer.
It is.
Having rights is an equalizer.
Yeah, that's
Having
a right.
choice is
Right,
an equalizer.
just like a gun right.
And in this country,
41 forms of
the
birth
policies
control.
that are pushed.
They're so confused. They don't even, I bet you I would. I've got like, what is it, a $50 gift certificate that I'm going to be giving away to some L.T.A.Mers here soon. But I would bet $50 right now that they're so off track. Look at her face. She's so gone. The one over here, the one right above my head right here, she's like spaced out. She's got that lion look again where she's like, I can't believe you're not backing me up on this. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about women. We're talking about feminism. We're talking about rights. Oh, yeah. Once again, gift cards. You can win one. I'll tell you how. First thing you need to do, though, is you need to start sharing this content on your social medias and spreading the word to others that may need help, because L.T.A.M was organized to save lives. All right? To support men, women, children, and families. The whole shebang. So, all right. Let's go.
to continue perpetuating patriarchy and anti-women, like taking the autonomy away from women. It is heartbreaking to see women pushing that propaganda. It's all brainwash. Like you.
Oh, it's brainwash because you don't agree with me.
No,
so
because
therefore
I've been
I'm
brainwashed. I have lived deeply institutionalized.
Ma'am,
I have lived under Islam. I'm not interested in any of that. Like, there's no like
You're not
guilt
interested
for
in
me.
human
No, I'm not interested in like
living,
thinking that like women are doing this really bad thing. Like in my religion, abortion is actually allowed. If the woman needs it, she's allowed, because you know it's very interesting how like fundamental America is. Like fundamentalist.
This is nothing to do with
like
even religion. This is very
conservative
basic
thinking.
scientific human rights.
We're also talking about people not having access to abortion clinics where they're doing the things themselves and they die, right? We're also talking about women in the hospital who are pregnant, who have chosen to stay with their pregnancy and have issues that
You know what's really concerning to me? Is that although I never want to hear of anybody, especially in any of these circumstances, lose their life, the truth is 132 men a day, every single day, like while you're eating right now, while you're watching this, while you're taking a poop, while you're doing whatever you're doing, 132 men every single day are self-deleting. Kaput. Ciao. Peace. If we could have at least, can I get like 5% of the outrage and the you know, just the whatever the energy that they're putting out for this very difficult conversation that they can't stay focused on? That would be great. I mean, we can't be that selfish where the passion behind this subject right now, where we know there's not much to be fought. Like, as a matter of fact, women do have more rights than men. Like I said in previous videos, hey, you guys, women get to choose babies and sex, right? So if a guy doesn't want the baby, you can say it's still coming. You could take his money. You can do a lot of things to him, right? If a guy doesn't want the kid, or the guy does want the kid and you don't want it, and you just want to do that too, you know, like we don't have, that's a right. That is a right that you have that we don't. So comment below, what right do men have that women don't have? And remember, answer with an answer, not a question, not a story, just an answer that is specific to the question. What rights does a man have that a woman does not? Let's continue the conversation.
hospitals and hospitals that are like, oh, no, we don't do that. Listen, for whatever reason, you don't need to explain it to anybody, but a lot of times when we're talking about access to reproductive health, for me, I'm thinking about Black, Indigenous, people of color, particularly women and girls who are working class, who do not have even access to like proper sexual education. It's the oppressive state of saying, I will force you to have a child even against your own will, right? Especially when you're thinking about women and girls who would be
against your own will. My question would be like, who tripped and fell into that person, and then they had, you know, enough time for that to happen, right? I mean, other than, you know, stuff like law-breaking stuff, like we have to use alternative words here because we're on YouTube, so we've named it here scape. What rhymes with scape? Mape. Blape. Right? Other than that, that is disgusting. We would never condone that. Oh my gosh. If I ever knew anybody that did something like that, we don't want to even think about what the possibilities are. Obviously, police would be involved and stuff, but, you know, emotions. Because that's unacceptable and disgusting behavior. But that's literally in the world of what they're speaking about. That's less than 1% of every one of those. And did you know also 60%? Googly time. 60% of women that have done that have done it more than once. So it's like you can't trip over and fall over yourself that many times, right? And not take accountability for the part that you played, the actions that you did, and change it. Here's a fun question. Would you advise a young woman to have as many partners as possible before she gets married? And then here's a second question. Would you advise a young woman, a young girl, a kid, that her career is more important than raising children and building her man's status and supporting her man as a family? Comment below. These are things that we've been hearing in the ether, and I want to get these answers. Remember, answer with an answer, not a question, not like a, oh my God. Let's go.
Be forced to have these children who are already living in very traumatized and scared situations. You want to ask about barriers? That's a barrier right there.
Women in poverty aren't able to access the way that rich women are, and no matter what happens, rich women are gonna keep getting abortions, and people in poverty are gonna not. And the choice, opening it up, the overruling is marginally affecting people of color, people in poverty, way more than people who are going to get access to those abortions.
Actually,
anyway.
Incorrect. You're the misquote. There's actually more abortions for people in poverty. It's just at a lower rate.
Why do you think that abortion has been so tied up in this feminism conversation?
It's all just social structure set up around bodies. So
You want to know my answer? I think, well, I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people that think this. But since the invention of birth control and abortion, what has society gotten from that? Promiscuous women. Promiscuous women. Guys, let me ask you a question. Are promiscuous women, in your view, this is from a guy's perspective, are promiscuous women more valuable to you or less valuable to you? Do you prefer when a girl has a roster from back in the day or a short list? And you know what? Since we're on it, guys, and this is men only. I mean, women, you can say whatever you want, but for men only on this one, what would be an ideal like body count that your potential wife would have? Remember, in 1942, you would be considered a promiscuous woman. Now we live in a new world. We're reasonable people, right? I know me on a lot of these interviews and a lot of polls, it seems like 10 to 15 seems to be the highest from what I've been able to see. But I want to hear directly from you. Comment below. Let's go. Let's continue this.
if not all women are able to have babies, but it's about the barriers and value that we give to these specific bodies, right? And so if abortion happens in a woman's body, that's why this conversation is coming up.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You said that not all women are able to have babies or pregnancies. Are you saying, meaning like an infertility issue?
A number of reasons. There's all kinds of reasons that not all women are having babies.
Pearl, I saw your hand up. Yeah.
I think women want to sleep around and not have any consequence for it.
Hell yeah, we do.
Yeah, instead of, taking personal accountability and being...
Did you see her reaction too? Now, you know what? I have a little empathy because I bet you she's yearning for it, for sure. We're humans, right? But it just proves what I just said a minute ago.
On birth control, they just want to do whatever they want.
You say this like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like you said...
Can I also ask, do you have any care to empower women?
The one that said you said this is like a bad thing, like I said, it's actually a guy. It's actually a guy. You'll find out.
Or is disempowering women part of your steez?
To see this as shame, insult, guilt, need to be right. Okay. Why is it empowering to sleep around?
No,
Why
what
is
I'm
it empowering?
saying is I feel like you do take the way you speak on women is very sort of women just don't want to do this. Women just don't have this. Women just want to this.
Maybe I should
and I
change my
wonder
term. Maybe
why
I should
you have
say-
so much like hatred towards
I
women.
don't hate
Where
women.
does that root in? It
I
sounds
don't hate
like
women.
you do.
I am a woman. I
That doesn't mean you don't have
I could be
self-hate.
black and still be internalized racism.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm saying
her.
specific things that you're saying, like women don't want to work, women don't want to this, women want to sleep around. Where did you learn these belief systems from?
Because, okay, the question was, why does abortion keep getting brought up? 40% of women that have had abortions have had 2 or more. 40%.
Good for
so,
them.
So what does that say to me? That means you're using it as a form of birth control, and they don't.
My bad. See? Googlies, I said 60%. So I retract that, and now we're back to 40%. But still, that's 40% of people making these decisions. And listen, that's not my topic. The reason why this topic is relevant in this conversation is because it determines a pattern throughout the generations. It also shows a starting point as to when these things started and allows us to see what the results are. Have you guys ever done a project of some kind and said, all right, well, I'm going to see how this goes. I'm going to take the steps. I'm going to go along the way. And sometimes it works out well. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you have to make adjustments. Sometimes you have to go back to the drawing board. But we're finding that some of these methods may not be conducive to families, children. I mean, shoot, maybe even the human race in general. Let's go.
Don't track the 60%.
What kind of abortions?
Can you let me finish? They don't track the 60% to say who in the future has abortion. So to me, it's like, why are they dying so hard for abortion? They want to sleep around with no consequences, even though you have 41 forms of birth control.
Who does that benefit?
41. So, ladies, I'm sorry to tell you right here and right now, this moment, this second, you got no excuse. You got 41 forms of birth control. You have that crazy last resort, if you know what I mean. You know, I like I said, I think there's utility to that, to the last resort. But you know, that's medical stuff. That's, you know, endangering the child, the mother, the family, like, you know, tough circumstances. Not because I made a bad decision. You can't get bailed out every time you mess up, right? You got to be accountable. I mean, I know I have to. I mess up, I got to handle it. I mean, right? Wouldn't you expect that from me or any guy? We mess up, we better fix it and handle it, right? Ponder that.
I don't think that benefits women. I think actually that benefits men because it means that men can have sex with you without consequence. It means that you can sleep with whoever you feel like, great, but there are consequences because women are the ones who get pregnant and carry babies and give birth.
It's very binary version of
yes,
sex.
because sex is binary, but please let me finish my point.
Oh, God.
It's tricking women into thinking that aborting a pregnancy, terminating pregnancy is something to be celebrated, when in reality, for a lot of women, especially those who are doing it under duress, say that they've been raped or that, you know, in the small circumstances where something really traumatic has happened to them, that's a medical decision. Or say that they're miscarrying and then they have to, you know, have an assisted termination. That's a medical procedure. It's not a celebration of, oh, look at the.
Now, I did watch this before, so I said I wasn't going to do too much influencing on this one, but I want you to hear how how this conversation goes.
Idea, the sort of like moral setting of that it needs to be rare is, I think the delineation between that's a medical abortion and that's like a fun abortion is really interesting because they're all medical. It's all a medical procedure. And so no matter what you're doing, going in there and getting it, like it's not like, oh, you're only allowed 2. It's just like, you should just be able to get a medical procedure done when it's something that you need done.
We shouldn't be desensitized to taking someone's life. That should never be an empowering factor for a woman.
I definitely agree in that, like, there should be no absolute thing any woman should do. There should not be an absolute response to incest or rape or any of these things. Every woman should have the choice. of if they want to or not want to carry that child, whether it is having fun, getting raped, incest, whatever it is.
It is.
I don't glorify and glamorize abortion. I think it's a very traumatic thing. I doubt that if somebody has to do, like if they have to do it, they'll do it. I don't think that people are like, doing like have 6, get the 7th free and having fun with it. And I think that like glamorization and glorification of any side is not okay.
Did the Dobbs decision make anybody here sort of rethink abortion access, reproductive health care?
It's anti-woman, right? It's it does not center people to have that voice for themselves in their own decision.
Once again, that's not my topic, but to go anti-woman, isn't it more anti-children and family? Comment below what you think. And remember, this L.T.A.M is about having the conversation. We're not going to shame, blame, defame you based off of what your responses are. And I'll tell you right now, we will protect everybody in our comments to be able to say what they need to say. We don't mess with the trolls here. I'm sure it'll get out of hand at some point, but we don't mess with the trolls. So comment what you think is a valid reason to have the medical procedure, as my lovely friend over here, right there, I wish there you go, there, said. It's just a it's like pulling out ingrown hair, right? It's like, let's go get our, I can't. Now, what I can say is this. I respect all of these ladies for coming on and having their view. And I also have taken the time, this is actually the 3rd time I watched this, to hear their views. Do I agree with the majority of them? No. Obviously, you know probably whose side I'm on. But I would never try to silence them from saying what they need to say. Right? Let's go.
Right? It is a barrier, right?
It's
if
giving more.
It's
it's giving more agency to women because it's moving it back to the state level. So locally,
but why would the state have the ability to tell me what to do?
Because it does in
women
multitudes
have
of
that
different
power.
areas. If you take out the viewpoint that life begins at conception, which is a really big defining principle for both the pro-life crowd, who very, very vehemently believe that, and then obviously a lot of the pro-choice crowd do not believe that. Taking that out of the equation, you do not have just whatever kind of autonomy you want as a person. It's regardless of male or female. You can't just have free run to do whatever the hell you want. That's not how society operates. So
at no point do I have the right to tell anyone in this room what they should or should not do with their bodies.
But it's not about your body. It's not about
me respecting.
I have a question here. It's not about your body. It's about the kid's body. I don't care what you do with your body.
It's my body, right? We're talking about my body.
You're talking about.
Jordan, I saw your hand creep up.
The Dobbs decision for me reinforced how important it is that we approach these issues from a cultural perspective, because it reinforces something that I have told many of my colleagues and peers in the past, which is that so long as you lack a cultural consensus, any issue can become a political football that can be decided by another election cycle. And so long as there is no strong consensus, I would expect this to be our reality going forward, these extremely vitriolic and aggressive conversations until there's another miraculous consensus that brought about Roe v. Wade. But what it more or less reinforced for me is that we're going to have more of these difficult conversations.
I want to talk about transgender.
You know what? That lady's actually really smart. That's true. You have to understand that when you're going against these forces of nature, you're trying to change the way things are supposed to be, right? I know all these people, they're like into like Reiki. I like my energy. And you know what? I believe in energy. I'm a surfer, right? The moon pulls the oceans to one side every single 6 hours, and that's done by energy. So I ponder sometimes, how does that affect our bodies and stuff like that, right? But I can't go and push the moon out of orbit, right? I'm not that strong. So when you're going up against forces like that, right? Yeah, the conversation's going to continue. And I'd like you to put on your Googlies again. Can you get your Googlies out? And I want you to, because you know what? I haven't even looked this up, and it might be kind of fun. I'm definitely looking up after the show. But I've heard this several times that the question is, what civilization has stood the test of time? So that means it's existing right now, right? Stood the test of time, that was established and protected by women. So if you could just go ahead and Google that for me, throw it in the comment. I'm going to check it out myself. So here we go.
Gender issues. Should trans women be included in feminist conversations? How about in women's spaces?
Yes, they're women. What's the question?
Pearl,
Trans women are women.
So I want to come at this from the position of an athlete.
Oh, Jesus.
So I play semi-pro basketball, semi-pro volleyball. So when it comes to like athletic spaces, I don't think that trans women should be allowed into athletic spaces because I don't think it's a fair. I think we, as female athletes, we work so incredibly hard for the little opportunity there is in women's sports.
Would this be a barrier for you?
There's no barrier. There's less opportunity in some industries.
That's what a barrier is.
There's less. It's not. No. It's
That's
based
what
on the
friction
market.
means.
Okay.
Hold on, guys.
Okay.
Right? You know, it's funny when you see something, you can't unsee it, right? Or when you hear something, you can't unhear it. As you go and you see these moments being put on film and audio, you're going to be able to spot these out a lot easier in real life where you're like, wait a minute. This is nonsensical delusional thinking coming after me right now. And I don't even have to let it affect me. As a matter of fact, I'm stronger in it than it. And I know what to do. I just follow L.T.A.M. We work together, we talk about ideas, and we learn to overcome this shit. Let's go.
So again, we work very hard for the little opportunity there is in the space because we're not as entertaining as the men. Sorry, we're just not. And so it's like you're gonna take the little opportunity that we're given. And the problem is like, we can't compete. We can't. Like, I'm 6 foot. If I go up against a 6 foot guy and I play basketball with him, he's gonna body me.
And what happens if I go up against you? You're gonna body me.
Even if I have years more of training. And so it's like you're taking away the little opportunity that we're given and we all work so hard for, and you're just giving it back to biological guys. It's like this will be the end of women's sports.
What do you think they're going to say? Do you think they're going to support another woman? I mean, they're feminists. Do you think they're going to... I mean, what she said was extremely logical. I'm sure everyone watching heard what Pearl said, and it just makes sense, right? It's like just reality, right? It's like, whoa. What do you think they're going to say? What do you think? Huh? I love pausing it on this video because their faces are so great. All right, let's go.
You tried confidence?
Eli, hold on, Minnie.
Sorry,
Eli.
confidence can't make me bench what a guy benches.
I don't
Confidence can't
understand
make
why
me
you guys
6'7".
are so hostile. She's sharing her
And confidence
experience
can't make me
in a
6'7".
specific
No, she's
field.
sharing And I'd have to go.
No, she's not. She's a woman who's had an experience.
Hold on, one at a time.
You guys
We
are
let
so
Pearl
obsessed with your
finish.
own experiences and your own existence, and yet when a woman is sitting here telling you, I feel as though this is unfair and this is compromising and this situation is not helping women, you guys are like, meh, meh, meh. But when you're like, I'm a black person that did this, 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 and this, then it's valid and fair and viable.
Eli, I want to give you the chance to respond.
So this is basically a joke of a talking point. Everyone has
Would you say that is the mindset of the, like, we'll call them the feminist group, right? The mindset of the feminist group, would you say that they are like valiant warriors, or would you say that they are weak victims? Or at least they're portraying that as themselves, like they need... Comment. Bye.
biological advantages in sports. How tall are you?
5'11" and a half. I'm tall.
I'm 5'8". I am a trans woman. You would crush me. You would absolutely crush
bone
me.
density, wrist
Told you.
strength,
Yeah.
muscle density. You can't switch those.
Yeah, exactly. You would crush me.
But also, Eli, you would never play at the level that Pearl plays because you would never get there.
So let me give you a few more examples here too. So Michael Phelps produced more lactic acid in his body, which caused him to swim better than any of his competitors. This was widely celebrated, and nobody contested it. Now, this is a performance-enhancing hormone. So we all have different bodies. And now I'm not saying that trans women who aren't on hormones should participate.
What? What? Okay, let's keep going. What?
But there are, every major medical and every major sports organization agrees that trans women who have been on hormones for between 1 and 3 years, depending on the organization, have the same competitive abilities.
The study that you're referencing had
I love how they're citing data. I guarantee you cite some real data to them. Well, no, I'm not saying it's not real data, but if you cite some data to them from the other side, like 80% of divorces are attained by women in the United States, 90% of your college educated, and the number one documented reason to date or today is when the woman out earns the man. Oh, I guarantee you they're going to have some stuff on that one. I guarantee you. Nah.
7 people participated.
That's misinformation, by the way. I'm referencing several different studies. I'm a trans woman and a researcher.
It's getting personal. I don't want it to be
personal. A lot of us
personal.
live in this space where we're told that our opinions don't count because they're not the right kind of opinions, and we're constantly shouted over and talked over, regardless of what we look like, because there's one group in society that basically takes precedence, and it's frustrating. So yeah, of course.
I feel like she just described men in society right now, although they're not talking about men, because that's what we do. L.T.A.M. Let's talk about men. Let's go.
It's frustrating because when we try to talk about it, we get shouted down, we get told to be quiet, we get spoken down too as well. So there's hostility there for plenty of women.
Let's try to make this an opportunity to speak.
You're literally a white woman from Australia. You live in a bubble and you're pissed that voices that have been silenced forever finally can be heard.
That's why they have the voice, because they speak up.
Okay, we're having a conversation about transgender women participating in sports, and I wanted to allow more people to participate. Jordan, I wanted to hear from you.
So I am not a professional athlete. The closest thing I have ever done to anything athletic was I used to do competitive show choir when I was younger. And I don't feel really qualified to make carte blanche statements about whether or not trans women should compete in every kind of sport. And I understand that that is that's a hard pill to swallow. And for me, my first inclination is to approach everything through a lens of inclusivity. But at the same time, I also can't speak accurately to every kind of sport and the different things that go into it. So I really think in these instances, the decisions are best left up to the professional governing bodies that dictate these particular sports.
I just feel like in places, as an ally, in places where there's no understanding, we can just respect and not really, our opinions don't fucking matter.
Eli, I saw you nodding your head over there.
Several times. This is more than about sports. This is about free and equal participation for transgender people in social life. And the right sees this as a socially acceptable way to begin to remove trans people from different engagements in our society. So it does just start with sports or bathrooms or locker rooms, something that they find is more acceptable. And then at this point, they started to move into education, getting trans teachers fired, banning trans books. This is a route that is very effective because it's seen as more acceptable. But it's also overlooking a lot of major details. Do y'all know how many trans women have won national titles?
One too many.
One. Leah Thomas is the only one.
One too many.
If
one too many?
So I'm 6 foot tall, which I'm very blessed to be 6 foot tall. Can you imagine if I walked into and you saw me on screen. Look, here I am on screen. Here we go. Ready? Look. You can see the colors going on here, right? You can see, right? So imagine if I walked into a room tomorrow and I said, I'm 8 foot tall and I'm a black dude. Could I just be pissed off at everybody and everybody has to follow along with what I'm saying? No, they would be like, dude, you're 6 foot. You kind of look like a white dude. You kind of look like a Spanish dude. You kind of look like an Italian dude. I don't know what you are, but you're definitely not a black guy. That's what they would say, I think. I mean, at least one person would say something close to that. So, I mean, it's just a crazy thought. That's not my world either. Like, but that's one thing that I do have a difficult time with. I got gay friends. I get it. I get that 100% for some reason. I don't know, that gets into my brain. I can understand that more, but it's hard for me to wrap my head around. It just feels a little delusional. I'm sorry if I offend anybody with that, because I am an empathetic man, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But you got to understand also, it's kind of hard for me to understand it. So I'm always seeking to understand, but you also got to understand that you can't tell people to always go with what you say. Let's go.
If women's sports were actually going to end in some way, I mean, it's just not happening. Wouldn't you think there would be more trans women in sports when the majority of states do allow trans women full participation? International titles, 0. No global titles have ever been won by a trans woman.
I want to move on to a different topic. I want to talk about Me Too and sort of this social movement that we're living through right now. What is the state of feminism sort of in this post-Me Too era?
We're in post-Me Too?
All right.
Tell me.
Sorry, I got distracted by the Me Too part. So I was like, we're in post-Me Too? Wow, like, no one's getting, like, sexually harassed anymore. Like,
We did it, guys. We solved the problem.
We want that world. No, I think, obviously, the state of feminism is very much reflected right in this room. But Me Too, for me, right, in a particular context, means something for different people. It's a different experience for different people. In my culture and in my community, we're still working through that. There is no post-Me Too, right? We're still working through how do we have these tough conversations? How do we teach not just, women, but everyone about consent? What does consent look like? What does that look like in our community? What does that not look like, right? All those things that I think it's still very complicated. But I think it starts at the level of community, right? Of like, how do we have these conversations around consent?
Sydney, I saw your hand up.
So when the Me Too thing was unfolding, I was initially like, great, I love the idea of women being able to speak out. What's been really disappointing, I suppose, for me, post-Me Too, as we're calling it, is that, and especially as someone who's sort of on the right wing of politics, I think that a lot of the experiences of women on the right get a bit trivialized because there is a lot of politicizing of sexual assault. So when something legitimately happens on our side of the table and someone tries to speak up about it, there's almost an automatic disbelief. And I understand why. It's because of the believe all women type of stuff that came out of the Me Too movement, that a lot of us were like, wait a minute, no, people do use these situations for gain, people do make things up, people do lie, but it is sad to watch it happen. It makes me sad that we're here.
Jordan?
You know what? I agree with that, because I would hope no one advocates for SA. We'll call it SA, right? SA. Or MAPE, SHMAPE, BLAPE. Anything like that. That's disgusting. But Me Too movement seems to have adopted this idea of believe all women. Comment below on your thoughts on that. I don't know. Changed my mind.
I feel like there'll never be a post-Me Too, because at the heart of it, Me Too is just a phrase. The spirit of what Me Too represented will always be relevant, and that is that you are empowering individual women to advocate for themselves and speak out when they feel like they're being wrong. Ideally, you're just trying to be the most transparent and self-accountable person you can be, and you need to hit all of those fronts if you want it to last on a cultural level.
How about beauty standards. We talked a little bit about this. This got brought up at the beginning. How does that tie into femininity?
Sorry, I'm very into this idea because I do think it is one of the larger intersections that just doesn't get very discussed, which is, like I was talking about before, barriers and friction are placed up around bodies. And the fatter I get, the older I get, the less people will listen to me, the less value I will have for society. So, you know, I'm already starting out as a woman with no legs. If I had something on my face, I have my beauty. That's one of my privileges. I have my whiteness. That's one of my privileges. I used to have thinness, and now I'm getting fatter. Things are changing. And I think every single time that we talk about feminism, pretty privilege should be discussed because we have these ideas. If your skin tone is this, if your hair is this, if your body looks like that.
So this seems like almost like a warning, right? From her perspective. Like she wants, like, let's just say, listen, I hate to say it, but some people are born beautiful and attractive and some people aren't. So what they're saying, what she's proposing here is that there needs to be some type of ban around good-looking people. So if you're a good-looking person, feminism is coming for you? What? Or at least she would like that if she had the power to make that happen. I don't know. Let me ask you, do you think that's rational or delusional? Comment below.
It's about whether or not you are given an equal opportunity based on what you look like.
I saw it.
I think a lot of times the women that complain about beauty standards don't complain about them when they got privilege, when they were young and attractive and thin. So it's like, yeah, you're complaining when the privilege is gone, but privilege is invisible to those who have it. And women, it's a privilege, and men don't turn 18 and get looks that we get.
As a Black woman, one of the most integral parts of the beauty conversation has been color.
I want you to notice Pearl, I forget the other girl, and I don't know if she said anything, but the only woman on there that has said something in defense of men through this process has been Pearl, right? The other girl, I gotta get her name, but she seems to, I don't know if she said anything specific, but that's important. Like, you need to advocate and you need to speak up. Okay, let's go.
Colorism. I'm a dark-skinned Black woman, proud of it and proud of being myself. For the most part, I did not. Why am I going to cry about this? Mm-hmm. I did not grow up thinking I was beautiful because I was that. And I think in the Black space, we have these conversations, but I think I'm glad you're bringing it up because I think feminists actually really should be part of the colorism topic because colorism is not just.
There's another term. What is colorism? Can someone tell me what the hell colorism is? Like, it's like goalpost after goalpost after goalpost after term after goal. Like, it's almost an attempt to just confuse everybody so much that no one can talk about the actual topics anymore. You're just learning a new dictionary of weird words that I've never even heard before. Colorism. What is that?
Shades within being Black. It shades because they're, again, the beauty standard is the closer to whiteness you are, the more beautiful you are. I think it's something that if more people in different shades, particularly white women, because of knowing that standard, and we work together on that, then we have a lot, I think, something we can unify on, but also something that we can make strides in right now that I'm just not seeing. And it's only, again, that's why people feel like you have to be a Black feminist, because it's a topic that only really Black feminists are talking about because it deals with being Black. Mm.
How do beauty standards make you feel, Morris?
I mean, kind of what you're saying, Antonia.
as a Black Latina woman in my community, right? Like, I grew up and I was ugly, right? Like, that's what I was considered. I was not considered beautiful. Of feeling ugly, but also being told I was, right, had a lot to do with what is believed in my community, right? Colorism is one of them. And so to say, I'm gonna redefine beauty for myself, and to say, I own myself, and I get to decide what's beautiful, right? And I get to decide what I wanna wear and how I wanna wear it. And I don't need to, right? It's almost a repelling, right? Like, I'm like, no, you know what?
I wonder if she has a man. Because how about what the guys she likes thinks is beautiful? How about putting that into just a thought? I don't know. I mean, okay.
I am beautiful, I'm gonna do what I wanna do, and I'm gonna feel myself, because if no one else is gonna feel me, it's on me to feel me too.
I gotta say though, I did grow up being referred to as very beautiful for a woman with a disability, and that to me always fed this idea that disability doesn't mean beautiful. I am in some form of exceptionalism, which I then had to keep up with forever. So it's like, I got this thought as I started to age, like, you can have no legs, but you better not fucking get fat. And so this idea that, like, there are certain people who are beautiful and certain people who aren't, and that inherently holds value is, I think, you know, find it in yourself, yes. And
Jordan?
Beauty standards are toxic bullshit hierarchical nonsense. And I say that as someone who has spent over a year collectively of my life in eating disorder institutions, because I have tried to put my body through hellish things to meet these beauty standards, which more often than not are not based in reality. They're typically trends, they're created to push things, they're extremely useful for marketing, but they don't serve anyone's health, they don't serve anyone's self-esteem. They only act to try and tell us that there's a allegedly right way to have a body, and if you don't occupy that space and have that body, then you're a piece of shit, which is absolute nonsense. And there are way too many women and men in the world who end up doing terrible things to themselves because they fall into this trap of thinking that you have to be this way.
Switch that out for a dude, right? Like the equivalent of what a dude looks like for her, right? Which, hey, teach their own. That guy says that stuff, they're going to be like, buddy, go to the gym. Stop complaining. Get to work. They're not going to be able to victimize themselves and have people feel bad for them. And they're not going to get laid. No. Believe it or not, this chick still gets laid on her worst day. The guy equivalent to her has either been a virgin for a year is it still a virgin or hasn't had it for a year. Get your Googles on. 1 in 3 men are still virgins or have not gotten laid in a year. Listen, society teaches our lessons to men right away. Okay? We don't have the right, to sit here and complain about our stuff like you guys do. And what? Listen, I know that they feel bad for it. I'm overweight right now myself. I don't know if you watched Morning Talk, but today, I made a commitment. So go look at that one and join me when you do it. But golly. All right, let's go down this rabbit hole.
And if you aren't this way, then there's something inherently wrong at your core, which is nonsense. You're perfect the way you are. That's literally the core of it. You are perfect the way you are. And anyone who tries to tell you otherwise is feeding into this industry and is just, they're not your friend or looking out for you.
That's not true. You're not perfect the way you are. We always have to keep evolving. I mean, I can tell you from our perspective, that is expected of us. I've never met a girl that is dating somebody that makes $30,000 a year and says, I'm happy exactly right there. You're perfect the way you are. No, that's not what happens. They're like, yeah, he's cute and this, and he's got potential. and they're hoping that he's going to go up. That guy still has $30,000 a year, and 10 years later, oh, that girl's not there. She's gone. She's gone.
Layla?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, beauty in the industry is exploitative, but also we have to remember a lot of the beauty standards are based around health, what's perceived as health, like symmetry, certain weights, things like that. So there is that side where we have to balance it, and I think we're seeing so much more representation, which I think is incredibly important.
Well, I just think that if women really cared about beauty standards, the obesity rate wouldn't be what it is.
But what
Let's
about
try
you?
to attain the beauty standards. I just think some people are more attractive, some people are less attractive, and that's just, where would I rate myself 1 to 10?
We're not rating, it's okay.
That's what I mean. I just think some people
So
are more
if you
attractive.
are overweight, you don't care about beauty standards. Is that right?
Man, the average person's like a 5. In order to be a 10, you got to be so hot that a modeling agency needs to come over, pluck you out of life, because that's what you're here for. A 10 is that. A 9 is whoever the hottest movie star. That's a 9. An 8 is whatever the hottest TV star. You're not allowed to say 7. Check out Kevin Samuels, R.I.P. You're just never allowed to say 7. Now that we're in reality, right? We're starting at 6, isn't it? Let's go.
Point is that the beauty standard is thin, right?
Your standard?
Obesity comes from men and women, though.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. But I'm saying if women really wanted to fit the beauty standard, they would be thin.
I know, from my experience as well, is growing up, again, in a mostly white neighborhood but I was always comparing myself to literally other people who have a different body type, but I was considered other or to something because it didn't conform to that body type. When that same body type became popular with Kim Kardashian, the Kardashians, who are different, right, than me, let's just say, are different skin color, right? And there's a lot of animosity, in a lot of Black communities, of the fact that when it was on Black skin, it was an issue, but when it was on Kim Kardashian and the Kardashians, it was $1 billion business.
Yep. Our time together has almost come to an end. We sort of started talking about feminism, big picture. We're gonna try again. Is feminism dead?
I think feminism is alive, and I'm thankful to be a participant and believer of it.
I would say, as far as the West goes, I think that feminism has been cannibalized by other movements like leftism, like transgenderism.
So I think feminism is very much alive and well. I think it takes different forms depending on who you're talking to, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And as I've defined in the beginning, for me, I use it as a lens. So I don't think I'll ever stop having it in my arsenal, if you will. It makes for a good vice panel.
Okay, we're done. I appreciate everybody taking the time. I know this is, it got a little heated at times, but thank you all for coming.
Well, we have arrived at the end of that conversation. But I just hope it's actually the beginning of the conversation in your private lives, on your social medias, on, your businesses. I mean, that's a lot to take in. But I just want to note one thing that is just glaring us in the face. Do you see one? Well, it's not. I didn't mean this as a joke. I guess we do. Do you see one guy in the footage, right? Or at least anybody that identifies as a guy in the footage, right? Out of respect. I want to thank Vice for putting this together, because I don't even know if they realize how monumental this is to be on the main stage like this. I also want to give props to Pearl from Just Pearly Things. I mean, the braveness that this young lady has is just kudos. Kevin Samuels, R.I.P. Jordan B. Peterson, Fresh and Fit homies as well too down there in Miami. But most importantly, all the people that are here on L.T.A.M. The purpose of this, especially for the gentlemen, is I want you to know that you're not alone. I know you think about these things. We know that you're confused out there at times and you need a place where you can just be understood. And that's what we do here, is we seek to understand before being understood. So with that being said, please subscribe. If you're getting any value out of this content, you believe we can help us build a better world, take a second, subscribe right now, please. And with that being said, L.T.A.M, we are out of here, and we love you all. Peace.